on most nights, Dayton plays 7 guys, and tonight they played 8, and those 8 guys are really talented. They do the best job in our league, Dayton does, of getting really high percentage shots, and Cunningham and Toppin in particular really do a good job of getting shots right at the rim. They do have enough shooters to balance it out, but really their attack is at the rim, and that's what they did well again today, but that's what they always do. So they're a handful, obviously one of the most talented teams in the league, and they played like it today.
Coach, did you feel like you guys were prepared to deal with a player like Toppin?
Well, I mean, I think what you're asking, he's a really athletic, physical body, and so he is very aggressive around the rim. He's a very good rebounder, and really that's why he's 4th in the country in field goal percentage, because he is just really hard to guard when he's around the rim because of his physicality. So I think that would be my best response.
What's been the hardest thing about this losing streak?
Yeah, you know, today's game is hard. Today's game is an aberration, meaning, you know, we have lost 7 games this year by 1 possession. So we've lost by 2 and by 3 and by 3 and by 3 and by 3. Today's game, you know, where you don't have a chance, you know, it's just you feel helpless, not only as a player out there where you're really struggling to score and you can't stop the other team, but as a coach as well. So today's game was different than the other recent losses, simply because they were so overwhelming.
Biggest thing that you've learned about your team during this losing streak?
Yeah, you know what? There's a phrase that I really don't like in business and basketball. It's buy-in, and so I just pulled my staff in earlier in the week and I said, hey, who's got the greatest buy-in on our team? And our coaches said the right thing. They said exactly how I feel. It's hard to differentiate between any player in our locker room as far as which guy is more bought in, because they really are trying their tails off. So I agree with that. You know, our guys really are trying to do the right things. They are great teammates. But on a day like this, you're frustrated basketball-wise, meaning our guys are frustrated basketball-wise because it's just not the result they're after.
You mentioned you were hurt by the 3 ball today. You know, we seemed like someone was open on the kick, but was it more them, or was it an issue with Fordham switching? Which one was it more of? Yeah,
we did allow a couple of their guys to shoot. They only made 5 threes. So, you know, what I'm saying is their attack is so balanced that you can't just stand 5 guys by the rim and say, hey, we're not going to let you have any layups, because they've got 3 elite shooters out there. And today they actually put Frankie out there, so they had 4. So the point is, they have a good balanced attack offensively.
And would you like to see your team hunt more in packs less in the one-on-ones, or are you happy with, on the attack, you're okay with the one-on-one matchup at the top of the key? Is that
Yeah, it's a good question. Just meaning that, like, Dayton was really hard to drive today. You know, they do a good job of you know, they only play a very limited amount of guys, and those guys are good one-on-one defenders. But I feel what you're saying. Like, it was hard to drive them, especially in the first half. And so we have had teams in the past that have relied more on cutting and passing. We're not really built that way right now, but it will be important as we improve.
Trouba looked really good today. Back-to-back games, got a lot of minutes. Showed some fire in the end of the second half. What have you been working with recently with him?
Yeah, so I give Trouba the credit, and I totally agree with your observation that this is the 2nd game in a row that he really has, you know, just played with confidence and played with freedom, and he's really looked good out there. So, you know, I'm happy for him that he's taken steps in the right direction.
And do you think that him and Onyisi at the same time on the court will be able to happen? Because when they were working together, it looked really good for him.
Yeah, and we, you know, most of Trouba's minutes today were at the 4, meaning that either Jesse or Onyi was also on the court with him. So yeah, most of Trouba's minutes will be out there with another bigger player.
Speaking of Ohams, do you feel that because of the state that you guys are in, he's kind of taken it upon himself to say, you know what, I'm going to be the aggressor, I'm going to determine and dictate how things are going inside the paint?
I do think if you look at the start to the game we had, Antoine Portley scored our first 8 points. So my point is the older guys, Antoine, Jesse, and Chuba, those 3 guys do need to step up and try to provide some kind of stabilization when things are tough. So yeah, I think you can look at it that way, that Chuba and AP both really did try to help their team because of the struggles.
Oldham's held his own, but Bunting and IEC, not 2 of their best games, and you had Cunningham and Mike Sell on the other side, they're bigs, and plus 32 in the paint for Dayton. What was the difference between those 2 and your 2 in Bunting and IEC?
Yeah, so it feels a little bit like Ony's maybe hit a wall a little bit here. Like, he played so well in a couple games, including the VCU game. There was another game right around that time, maybe James Madison, where he played so well. And so he hasn't been himself just as far as how he's played basketball recently. And so you look at what Dayton does so well. I mean, Josh Cunningham and Obi Toppin are 2 of the most efficient, and Mike Sell is the 3rd one I talked about before the game with our team. They're some of the most efficient players in all of college basketball. They only take shots that they are going to make, and they make them all. And that's exactly how I phrased it in the pregame, is that Toppin's 4th in the country in field goal percentage, and he shoots a lot, but he is getting to shots that he can make, and he gets them all.
Coach, what are you looking for from Ty Perry in order for him to start seeing more minutes? Is it as simple as just seeing him shoot more consistently? What do you think?
And I really think that Yvonne and Ty and David, all 3 of those guys are like in a similar situation. And the way I phrase it to them is, we simply need you to do something to help the team. So your question was framed around the offensive end, and that would be fine. If Yvonne or David or Ty could make some shots, that would help our team. If it's something at the defensive end, if those 3 guys could become better rebounders, better charge takers, better one-on-one defenders. So, I mean, that really is where our team is. We need one of those 3 guys, Yvonne, David, or Tyrone, to provide something that helps this team, and that's really part of our struggle right now.
Coach, where is Nick Honnor's confidence currently right now? Didn't have a good game, struggled mightily in the first half, picked it up a little bit better in the second half. Just talk to me about where is his head at these days.
I think, so if you were to ask, like, right now at this very moment, the word is frustration. It's frustrating to not be able to compete the way we want to compete. In general, his confidence is very high. He played really well in our last game. He's been playing great. So his confidence is really high, and it always will be. Right now, there certainly is frustration, not only on his part, but for many guys in that locker room.
Do you feel like he's putting a lot of pressure on himself because he's a freshman, this is his first year, and losing streak and everything going on?
I think all of our guys are simply trying to compete, and so what I mean by that is, if you look at our coaching staff, or you look at, let's just take me. I've been a head coach for 14 years, and I've been in Division I basketball for 26 or something. So as we lose games, there are things for me to look back on, and I've got some perspective. For a player in the locker room, especially a freshman that you're asking about, he doesn't have anything to look back on. I mean, he's got AAU basketball when he was in 7th grade, and maybe he was down by 6 at half one time, But in general, they're just trying to feel their way. They're trying to compete at this level, and so it's a frustrating thing when things don't go their way, and they're just trying to find a way to deal with it.
There was a point in that second half where you took Honor off, put him on the bench, and it looked like you had a quick conversation with him. Was that a personal conversation to him, or was that something?
Yeah, it was simply about frustration. And so what happened was he threw a really good pass to one of his teammates who was wide open, and his teammate didn't shoot the ball. And Nick showed some frustration in his teammate. And I just took him out and I said, Nick, you're not wrong to be frustrated. I agree. He should have shot the ball. but you can't show your frustration. That was the whole conversation, and he went back out there and played as hard as he could the rest of the way. But that's the conversation that was needed at that time.